Sandra had just started a new job. It was only her second day. The job was not easy, but she was happy. She had been looking for work for a long time. Now that she had finally found a job, she wanted to do her best. That morning, it was raining heavily. The sky was dark and the roads were wet. Sandra walked quickly, holding her small umbrella tightly. She didn't want to be late. As she walked, she saw an old woman standing in the rain. The woman had not shoes, no umbrella, and her clothes were soaked. She looked cold, weak, and lost. Sandra felt sorry for her. She walked up to the woman and said, "Mom, please take my umbrella. You'll get sick standing here." The woman looked at Sandra with tired eyes and said, "My child, I have nowhere to go. I came from the village. I know no one here." Sandra's heart broke. She took out the little money she had in her pocket and said, "Here, Mama, take this and find somewhere to stay." But the old woman refused. "I can't take what you need for yourself, my child." Sandra thought for a moment. Then she smiled and said, "Come with me. I'm going to work. After work, you can stay at my place." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "May God bless you, my daughter." They walked together under the umbrella. When they got to the office, Sandra found a small corner for the woman to sit and help dry her clothes. "Mama, I'll buy us something to eat during my break." "Don't worry," Sandra said kindly. A few hours later, while Sandra was out buying food, a woman named Emily entered the office. Emily was rich, proud, and rude. She was also the fiancée of the CEO and loved to show off. Emily saw the old woman sitting quietly and frowned. "Who brought this dirty beggar here?" she said loudly. The old woman looked up and said, "Please, don't be angry. I'll leave now." But Emily laughed cruelly. "You better leave. This is my husband-to-be's company. You don't belong here." The old woman shook her head and said, "You have a bad character, my daughter." Emily was furious. "Get out, you stupid old woman." The woman left silently, holding back her tears. Soon after, Sandra returned and saw the old woman standing sadly outside. "Mama, what are you doing out here?" Sandra asked. The woman replied, "A lady told me to leave. She said I was dirty and poor and didn't belong here." Sandra was angry. She stormed into the office and found Emily sitting like a queen. "Emily!" Sandra shouted. Emily smiled lazily. "Oh, the poor cleaner is back." "What do you want?" Sandra said firmly. "How dare you insult my mother like that?" "You had not." "Right." Emily laughed. "Your mother? That dirty beggar?" "Yes," Sandra said. "If my boss still wants to marry someone like you, then he's blind." Emily's face turned red. "You're fired. You'll regret this." Sandra didn't care. "I don't want this job if it means working with someone like you." She walked out and held the old woman's hand. "Let's go home, Mama." That evening, Emily called her fiancé, the CEO named Austin. She lied and cried on the phone, saying Sandra had brought strangers to attack her. Austin believed her and immediately called Sandra. "Sandra," he said angrily, "how dare you cause trouble in my office?" Sandra was shocked. "Sir, that's not true. I helped an old woman who had nowhere to go." Emily insulted her and threw her out. But Austin didn't listen. "Emily said she'll leave me if I don't fire you." "I have no choice." Sandra was hurt. "Then fire me. I don't want to work for a man who doesn't care about the truth." She ended the call and sighed deeply. Mama placed her hand on Sandra's shoulder. "My child, I'm so sorry," she said. Sandra smiled. "Don't worry, Mama. I have no regrets." Later that night, Mama's phone rang. It was a very expensive phone something Sandra hadn't noticed before. The caller was Mama's son. He was sick and had just returned from a trip. The next day, Mama left to see her son. When she arrived at his house, she was shocked. The house was huge, with a tall gate and rich surroundings. Emily came out of the mansion and saw her. "You again?" Emily shouted. "Get away from my house." Mama said calmly, "I came to see my son." Emily laughed. "Your son? Here? You must be dreaming." Mama called Austin and said, "Come home now. I've been insulted in front of your house." Austin rushed home. When he saw his mother standing outside, tired and in her old village clothes, he was shocked and angry. "Mama, what happened?" Mama told him everything. "I went to your office in secret to test Emily. I pretended to be poor. Sandra helped me with everything. Emily insulted me. And you believed her lies." Austin was hurt. "Mama, I made a mistake. I want to know if Sandra truly loves you," Mama said. Austin nodded. "I'll test her. I'll act like I'm poor." The next day, he called Sandra using a softer voice and a different number. "Hi, my name is Austin. My mother told me about you." Sandra smiled. "She told me about you too." Austin said, "Can we meet tomorrow?" Sandra agreed. They met in a quiet park. Austin dressed in old clothes to look poor. When they met, they talked for hours. Sandra said, "You have the same name as my foolish boss." Austin laughed. "Really?" Sandra told him how she was fired for helping the old woman and how badly Emily behaved. Austin listened quietly, amazed at her honesty and courage. Sandra said, "Any man who loves and respects his mother is worth knowing." Austin felt something warm in his heart. He had never met anyone like Sandra. The next day, Sandra received a call from the company. The manager said, "Your boss wants to rehire you, but this time as his personal assistant." Sandra was shocked. She thought about it and then accepted the job. When she arrived at the office, she went to the CEO's room. She opened the door and froze. It was Austin, the same man she had met in the park. "You?" she gasped. Austin smiled. "Yes, I'm the real CEO. I wanted to know if you would love me. For who I am, not for my money." Sandra was shocked, even a little upset. But she respected the truth. Later, Mama called and laughed. "See? I told you my son is special." Austin later proposed to Sandra in a beautiful restaurant. She said yes. A few weeks later, Mama invited Sandra to her house. Sandra was surprised to see the big mansion again. "Mama, this is where you live?" she asked in shock. Mama smiled. "Yes, my daughter. I'm sorry we hid the truth. We only wanted to test your heart. And you passed." Sandra forgave them. A few months later, Sandra and Austin had a beautiful wedding. Everyone was happy, especially Mama, who smiled and said, "I knew she was the one." And that, dear viewers, is the story of Sandra and Austin, a story of kindness, truth, and love. What did you learn from this story? Share your thoughts in the comments.